As a parent, how do you break intergenerational cycles to create new behavior and new ways of thinking and feeling? Mended Light. So this is a new Ask Me Anything series on parenting. This is the first of a three-part series. And if it goes well, then Alicia and I will pick it up and do some more. But she is in Kenya right now doing some humanitarian work with 100 Humanitarians, one of our favorite organizations. If you want to learn more about how to help families in Kenya, and especially women and children, the link is right here. Okay, so I'm going to be answering your questions about, in this video, breaking the chains sometimes of intergenerational trauma, or of I have anxiety, or I have this, that, or the other that I don't want to project onto my kids or pass on to my kids, or there's a situation in my home right now that I don't want to affect my kids negatively down the line. So how do we deal with that? So let's dive in. I'm going to answer some of the questions that were submitted by our Mended Light community.
So let's do this thing!
How do I manage to not give my anxiety and patience and nervousness over to them? I think the first step is to own it. And not own it shamefully or like there's something wrong with you, but just recognize that when you respond with impatience, for example, to let them know that this is something that you're wrestling with, that it's not their fault. And they feel like if they can change their behavior, then they can change the situation. And it can be hard for them to recognize that there's nothing they can do about something, but it's also liberating. And I guess when I say there's nothing they can do, you know, they can wash up, they can do their chores, they can treat each other with respect, they can be kind and grateful and gracious, they can work on those things. But if you're responding with impatience, for them to recognize that this is a you struggle, and that there can be a correlated struggle of their behavior, but that one doesn't cause the other. Their behavior doesn't cause your impatience. You are responding to them this way because it's something that you're struggling with. It's a growth area for you. So if you want to decrease their anxiety about your moods, own your moods, own your nervousness, own your anxiety, own your impatience, and let them know what they can do to help. But also at the same time that if you are struggling with that it's not their fault. And the more you can repeat that message, the more you can be accountable. For impatience, I think impatience is something to be accountable for. I don't know if there's anything to be accountable for per se when it comes to anxiety, other than just to say, hey, I'm really stressed and I'm kind of freaking out. And I know some people that phrase is offensive. I apologize. I'm old school. I'm working on it. I'm kind of stressed. I'm kind of freaking out. But I want you to know that it's not your job to fix me. That here's what I need you to do, or here's what I want you to do right now. Is that something you're willing to do? And it could be go play in the other room. It could be, clean up after themselves, whatever it is. We pick up all sorts of behaviors and attitudes from our parents. Not all of them are positive, but that's just life. That's something that people need to work through.
You're just like your father.
My mom was an incredibly loving, compassionate, genuine person, and I picked up all of that from her. She also struggled with anxiety and stress and self-worth, and I picked up some of that too. And that's just life. We all struggle and wrestle through things. Absolve yourself of the need to pass on zero struggles to your children. It's not going to happen. Just by virtue of living with people, we pick things up from one another. I'm not a parent, but how do you know if you want kids or are ready for kids emotionally? When I think about it, I'm not against kids, but at the same time, I understand the responsibility and expectations of being a parent. And there is a fear there that I'm not sure how to overcome. One of the best pieces of parenting advice I've ever received is when someone says, how do I know if I'm ready to have kids? You're not. You never will be. If you were ready, it wouldn't be a growth experience. The fact is, we learn and we grow from being parents. It's hard, honestly. Graduate school, marriage, operating a business, losing my mom. Like, I've been through some hard things, some difficult things, some challenging things, and parenting is the most challenging for me. It's also the most rewarding and most beautiful. But make no mistake, it's rough. So how do you know if you're ready emotionally? If you've got trauma or triggers or unmanaged or unresolved mental health struggles, then by all means, work on that, because parenting is only going to magnify and compound all of that, because parenting is stressful and kids speak the truth and they tell you what they're seeing.
Hey, somebody hit your guys' mailbox. I found it in the road.
You hit the mailbox.
What? No, I
Yeah, it's on the phone.
Dawson.
You did hit the mailbox.
Kids are funny.
And whatever you're struggling with is going to get magnified. That doesn't mean don't be a parent. It means if you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. If you need to do some trauma recovery, do some trauma recovery. Don't be afraid to take care of yourself. How will you know when you're ready emotionally? Again, you're never going to be 100% ready, but do you want to have children? Do you feel mentally and emotionally stable? And are you able to provide for them? If the answer to all of those things is yes, proceed. It's still going to be hard. You're still going to learn. You're not 100% ready. And the only way to get 100% ready is to experience it. But take care of the big things first. I'm not a parent, and I don't think I should be. This one is similar to the one we just did, but there are key differences that I'm going to address. I'm not a parent, and I don't think I should be. I struggle with too much anxiety and self-hatred. I just know that those would get passed on to my kids no matter how hard I try to teach them not to be that way. How do you know if you're emotionally stable enough to raise mentally healthy kids? First of all, when you say raising mentally healthy kids, I've seen mentally healthy kids come from families that weren't mentally healthy. I've seen mentally unhealthy kids come from families that were pretty solid in that regard. Not everything that happens in a child's development comes down to nurture or what you do or how you parent. There's a fair bit of nature and genetics in there, as well as friendships, environmental factors, and the things that they pick up along the way. That said, it's undeniable that parents play a huge role in how a child develops. So how do you know if you're emotionally stable enough to raise mentally healthy kids? I don't think you have to have everything figured out, and I don't think you have to have everything resolved. Do you feel like you've got control of your temper? Like you're not going to lash out in physically or verbally abusive ways? If the answer is yes, that's a good indicator. And I'm not talking about that you never lose your temper, right? Everyone loses their temper. I lose my temper. So I'm talking about abuse. Do you feel like you're not going to be abusive? Okay. When you do lose your temper, or when you spiral into anxiety or depression or sadness or overwhelm or agitation or irritability, are you able to own it? In your life now, do you still feel the need to pass blame for your behavior onto other people instead of taking accountability for it? If the answer is yes, then you're going to want to work through that before you have kids. Because one of the greatest contributors to mental unwellness in children is parents who blame the children for their own behavior, and children who internalize their own unworthiness, that they're a screw up and that the family's problems are their fault. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. There's no such thing as a parent who doesn't get stressed or anxious or sad. There's no such thing as a parent who doesn't get irritable or have human moments of treating their kids not as well as they deserve. What matters most is when you stumble, can you model accountability? Can you model what it is to say, I'm sorry, this was my responsibility, and here's what I'm going to do to work on that behavior? Because if you can, then even your stumbles can be teaching moments, because you're not looking to raise children who don't make mistakes. You're looking to raise children who are ethical, who have compassion, and who are accountable when they do make mistakes. Parenting a teen boy who needs a male role model to teach him how to be a morally good and kind man, but the only male role model in the home models negative traits instead. Role models are important. We look to them to see how to be and how to perform in the roles that society or our families or that we ourselves assign us. That said, far more important than a gender-specific role model is just a role model of being a good person. I know a lot of people, a lot of good men who did not have great fathers. They had abusive or absentee fathers, and they had mothers who taught them kindness and compassion, ethical behavior, integrity, morality. They had people who taught them how to work hard, how to be strong, how to be empathetic, how to be focused and forgiving. You can give this to them. You can teach them this. And if you want them to see it from a man, there are positive male role models in literature, in movies. And I'm not saying in all literature or all movies. I'm just saying they're there. If you look for them, start with Aragorn from Lord of the Rings is a good place to start. And look for people in your community that they can look up to and spend time with in an appropriate setting. But make no mistake, what matters is that they have good role models, period. How do I show my kids I love them despite their different gifts? I struggled with feeling love from my parents because my sister displayed her gifts earlier than I did. So what you're saying is your parents valued certain behaviors, certain talents, and when your sister displayed those behaviors and talents, they awarded her with praise. And because you didn't display those gifts and talents, that was withheld from you. That's a parenting issue, as you're well aware, because you're asking. What I would say is be aware of what you value, be aware of your positive prejudices, right? The things that you favor, the things that you naturally gravitate towards to celebrate, and then expand beyond that. Be mindful with your own kids. What you're looking for is what they're good at, what they love, what they're passionate about, and also what they're not good at, but they're really trying and their effort is worth celebrating. I'm not going to get religious on you here, but I do want to talk about a mental exercise involving a higher power. So if you believe in God, great. If you don't believe in God, if you believe there's no God, that's also fine. Let's just do this mental exercise. Imagine a perfect parent, right? Imagine a higher power that loves everybody. And if that higher power were here and I asked, well, do you love Susan? The higher power would say yes. And I'd say, why? And they wouldn't say, well, because I'm God and I love everybody. If I said, do you love Susan? They would say yes. And I'd say, why? They'd respond, how much time do you have? The idea of this all-loving higher power is that they love because they see in us specific individual things that are worthy of love. This is a gift and a talent that you can cultivate, and you can cultivate it now before you have kids if you don't have them, by looking for the good in the people around you, looking for things to praise, celebrate, and express gratitude for. Be mindful of, okay, what are the things that I naturally see, and how do I expand beyond that? What we're talking about here is breaking intergenerational patterns of conditional love. I'm not saying the love felt was conditional. The love felt may have been unconditional, but the love expressed seems very conditional. There is a great book called Real Love and Post-Childhood Stress Disorder, and Alicia and I did a podcast covering what we were learning from that book. You can access that content by joining our membership site. Every week, there is new content rolling out, like live Q&As, online video courses, and podcasts where we share things we're learning from what we're reading. This membership is meant to help support you on your healing journey, and right now it's 50% off a monthly membership. Link is right here. What advice would you have for these individuals and their questions? What experience do you have with parenting and with breaking patterns of impatience or anger or judgment? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to learn from you. Until next time, folks, keep shining. We need your light.